Okay, routine report as it's been about 3 days or so, and that seems to be about how often I make these. But working on a few things right now. As you can see in the sidebar, we have the upper right icons for our currently equipped items. Currently, this only extends to weapons, but that's because currently there is only weapons. Speaking of weapons, we now have the short sword that has entered the weapon roster. And it's not bad. It's very similar to the hatchet in some regards, so I'm a little disappointed at how non-diverse it is. But its armor-piercing potential and its slight bonus in range and base damage does give it a utility. But this is the effect of running multiple gradients side by side. Sometimes you have things that are very similar to one another. That being said, we also have a bunch of animation code we have been fucking with. For instance, we now have Akimbo animations, and you can do this, and this, this, and it'll block various directions. You can even mix and match between pole arms and such, and if I didn't fuck anything up, it should work just fine. Yeah, and that just narrowly does not clip through the sword, because the sword gets out of the way. But it was a very particular arrangement. Of course, we can combine that with shields and all sorts of other stuff, and it's all just working very nicely right now. I'm actually really happy with the entire setup. Oh, interesting. Oh, interesting. We're playing unarmed primary hand animations with this setup. Well, there's our next bug. Always do another bug. Yeah, I guess that's what we're doing, is we're playing torso animations. Okay, well, I'll write that one down. Playing torso animations for tight shield in right hand, but not left hand. Yep, the most professional development environment known to mankind. But yeah, so we've also done a bit of mapping since then. It hasn't been terrible. As you can see, we've upped the render range. This was a bit of a trick, and it's not as efficient as I would want, I will be honest. I think it does possibly generate redundant chunks inside of each other at long distances diagonally. I'd have to check, but I believe that's how it works currently. And what's cool about the render distance is it's set per map, so you can feature things that are just a couple blocks or just a couple chunks away maybe, and some of these foggier areas. In fact, that render distance probably needs to be upped, I'm learning. Yeah, it does. Oh, interesting. Oh, right, yeah. So let's go ahead and Control-Shift-R. Nope, that's right. It actually saves our location now. Shit. Okay, so let's speed run through all that bullshit. And hopefully we can just go back to playing the game. That's why that was funky. But yeah, so as you see, once we get in the village, this guy's going to spawn the distance in static state later. But for now, he just spawns and you're inside the chunk. But as we get closer, you can see we have all this stuff. We have various wheat fields here, although they're really shitty. This took way too much time and effort, by the way. Everything about the wheat took fucking forever to get done. But it does actually not run terrible. It does take a little while to generate. That it does slow down generation a bit, so I might consolidate this into a single piece of wheat unless I decide I want this to be able to be cut down later. It's not terrible, and we've also been expanding other chunks that have not been immediately used. Oh, that's interesting. So that's... Fascinating. So that chunk is not generating in the distance. Why would that be? I guess it's upwards chunks are not generating upwards chunks appropriately. That is interesting. Okay, so we're going to have to look into that later. We have this door here that's still busted. I haven't finished that chunk yet. But as you can see, we're starting to actually get a lot of houses together. It's starting to turn into an actual village now, which is crazy. And I've just been mapping some of the other stuff that goes towards the ancient depot where you're going to meet the armor. So there's definitely a few things left to do here. But as we're approaching the end of the month and the end of the work cycle, this is going pretty good, dare I say. This is actually working out pretty alright. Alright, and, oh yes, that's the other thing. Two-handed sword. Let's not forget about the two-handed sword update. Okay, so, two-handed sword, the draw and holster, I'm not the most happy with. It was a little funky to get all the angles right. And some of the two-handed animations do kind of stretch what's possible. We have a slightly thicker than realistic torso and slightly shorter than realistic arms, and that has radically fucked up two-handed sword animations. But you know, the hand has to disconnect for some of these animations. But for two of them it does, two of them it doesn't. This block animation feels very lazy, but it's about the best I could do. This one's a little better. This one's not bad. Definitely a little funky in some respects, but I thought this would turn out worse when I started realizing anatomical realities. So I can't be too mad. And of course, you can two-hand the arming sword as well. Handles much better than the Claymore two-handed mode, but it does much less damage. So there's your trade-off. Also has less range. So yeah, now we're doing great. We have Akimbo spear, Akimbo one-handed, shield and sword, unarmed and shield. We have one-handed weapons. We have two-handed swords. It's honestly going great. We just need the two-handed spears and maybe some special animations for halberds and poleaxe because I feel like the spear does not rotate properly when it's doing the attacks. Just leaves its head level like that, and that probably is going to fuck everything up. But, you know, this is actually not so terrible. This is going pretty alright. Oh, interesting. This animation might be wrong. Yeah, I think these animations are backwards. That's fascinating. Why is that? Okay, so let's go and move this guy to main hand. Right, we don't have two animations, though. Fuck. Get rid of that. Huh. So block animations are not reversing on the spear. On the other hand, is unarmed. That's going to be the bug, I guess. So, yeah. Anyways, this has been pretty good, and I think we're doing good for the end of the month so far. And this is certainly a fun combination to try out sometime. Just the two of these. Now, the absolute suffering on the other end of the spectrum is just arming sword plus spear. This is technically possible, it's just suffering. Because it takes like 75% of your stamina bar per attack you want to do as a pair, which is just horrendous to regenerate. However, it does technically work. It is a little funky because there's no waist involvement, no torso involvement, but it works technically, and that'll have to do for now.